Hi everyone, I am ARYAN a pre-final year student at IIT Roorkee, and today we will be going through a slide on the study of force measurement trainer kit using strain gauge based load cell transducer. Presentation, our main objective is to investigate the performance characteristics of load cell transducers. You can see the image of a load cell transducers in the right, and we will discuss the working and the principle involved in great detail in latter part of the presentation. Define a load cell. So load cell is basically a transducer which converts force into electrical signals, and we can say that the units of the signal generated are typically mass or torques in form of units. And the applications in daily life include electronic scales, and these are constant of fitness equipments also, and they are also major part of automotive system critical for ABS in heavy automobiles. For the next couple of slides, we will be discussing the experimental setup for the load cell. Weights of different values, electronic circuitry along with a 3.5-digit digital voltmeter, load cell which is made up of four banded metal strain gauges with cantilever base. We will discuss the internal circuit and working of load cell. As we know, the strain gauge load cell converts the load acting on them into electrical signal. The gauges themselves are bonded into beam of structure member that deforms when the weight is applied. In most cases, four strain gauges are used to obtain maximum sensitivity and temperature compensation. Two of the gauges are usually in tension and two in compression and are wired with compensation adjustment as you can see in the figure. When weight is applied, the strain changes the electrical resistance of the gauges in proportion to the load. Other load cells are fading into obscurity as strain gauge load cells continue to increase their accuracy and lower the unit cost. Here you can see we have a diagram of Wheatstone bridge. The purpose of adding the Wheatstone bridge to a circuit is that to increase the accuracy. Actually, the load cell employs the Wheatstone bridge circuit. The circuit consists of four resisted arms arranged in a diamond shape. When force is applied, it creates an imbalance in the bridge, leading to a voltage difference across it. And the voltage difference is directly proportional to the amplitude of the applied force and can be measured to determine weight of the force accurately, and thus the Wheatstone bridge plays a crucial role in ensuring the precision and the reliability of the strain gauge load cells measurement. So now we are going to look on our actual setup which we have in lab. Here we have a cantilever beam. The cantilever beam is attached to a load cell setup. So we're having four load cells here. These four load cells are actually arranged in a Wheatstone pattern to minimize the error, and we have excitation source. The excitation source is used to provide voltage for the Wheatstone circuit, and the signal which we get after the voltage passed through load cell circuit is passed through a instrumentation amplifier which is used to amplify the low range signals and reduce the noise. And then we have zero adjust. Zero adjust is used to calibrate the actual zero weight to the value 0 on the machine. For example, if we have no weight applied on the cantilever beam, and there are chances that we will get some positive value like 0.01, 0.02 in kgs corresponding to that no weight, then we will use the zero adjustment. We will move it clockwise or anti-clockwise accordingly to adjust the weight to 0, so we can get the precise and accurate readings. After done the experiment, we placed various weights of different denominations on the cantilever beam, starting from the 1 kg value and slowly increasing the weight with a difference of 100 gram to the value of 2 kgs. We have done this in two parts. The first is load increasing mode, where we started from 1 kg and slowly kept on putting the weight until we reached the value of 2 kg. And in the second case, we have we have the opposite scenario where we started from 2 kgs and we keep on removing the weight until we reach on 1 kg. Here we have the actual loads which we place because we know the value of the load, and then we have the corresponding dvm readings corresponding to the values. And here we have to mention that the dvm values are in kgs. So starting from 1, we can see the value corresponding to 1 is 1.01 and the value corresponding to 2 is 2. And here in the low decreasing mode, we are starting from 2 and the value is 2.01 initially. And on reaching 1, it is 1. So based on these observations, we will do some calculations in the latter part of the slide. We have plotted the data to visualize our errors. We can see on the y-axis we have digital voltmeter readings which is in kg, and on the x-axis we have the load applied on the cantilever beam in kgs too. Ideally, ideally speaking, we expect a linear graph, but we can see there is not a linear graph. Also, we can see there are two lines. The blue line corresponds to the load increasing value, and the yellow line corresponds to the load decreasing value. As mentioned earlier, there is a variation in both the lines, that is load increasing and load decreasing value. These deviations are due to the hysteresis loss. I can explain this with example. Suppose we put a 2 kg, we put the cantilever beam uh, in the 2 kg state for a longer period of time, due to which we will get some deformation in the cantilever beam, and the deformation will lead to some errors. The deformation will slowly fade away, but until we have the deformation, we will get slightly changed values, which is actually error from the original value, and this error corresponds to the change on the deviation in the data from data points of the yellow and the blue line. What is the conclusion and outcome of the experiment? The first outcome is we get a linear relationship between the applied weight and the corresponding reading in the DVM. And the second outcome was the hysteresis loss is minimal. The distance between the 2 points, the reading points, the blue and the yellow point, were very minimum, and which were recording as 0.02 kgs in value. Now we will discuss about the precautions which we have to take during the experiment. First is we have to maintain a stable environment and ensure that the surface remain undisturbed to prevent measurement inaccuracies. And then we will look to avoid overloading the cell, which can actually lead to some deformation which are permanent. And the third point is we have to regularly calibrate the load cell to maintain the measurement accuracy over time. Now we will discuss my proposed idea, which was based on the weight distribution analysis. Here we will see what is the outcome when we place the weights on different parts of the cantilever beam. As you have seen earlier in the slide, that we have a cantilever beam which has a round dial where we place our weights. But the problem is, if we will place the weight near to the center, we will get the accurate values, as there is particular role of torque in the experiment, which led to deformation, and the value will change accordingly if we place the weight near to the edge part of the cantilever beam. So the experimental setup is same as the experimental setup we discussed in earlier part of the slide, and the procedure is we apply a known weight to the center part of the cantilever beam, and we will record the corresponding reading, which is actually very close to the real reading of the weight applied, weight we have taken. And then we will move the weight to the outer part. We will slowly move the weight to the outer part of the circle, and we will keep on recording the changes in the value of the weight as shown by the digital voltmeter. Okay, now we can see the variation in readings. In the first diagram, I place the weight slightly away from the center mark, and corresponding to a 1 kg weight, I get a reading which correspond to 1.13 kg of reading. And in the second diagram, as you can see, I place the weight very near to the edge of the cantilever beam, and corresponding to a 1 kg weight, I was getting a weight reading which corresponds to 1.69 kgs of weight, which says that there is 69% error in the latter means in the bottom diagram when I place the weight to the edge of the cantilever beam. This shows that the placement of the weight near to the cantilever beam center is very important for accurate readings. So I have an image here to explain you what exactly happens when we place weight to the center or not near to the center. When we are placing the weight near to the center, we can see that the mass is correctly aligned with the experimental setup, and in this case we get an accurate reading. But when we place our mass not in accord to the alignment of the setup, we will get a disalignment, and this disalignment will lead to error. And as we have seen earlier, the error can go up to 70%. And here we have the conclusion. This experiment provides us a critical insight into the weight distribution within the test structure of the objects, and how important it is to place the weight at the accurate center of the cantilever beam to obtain the accurate results. Finally, it's the end, and thanks for listening to me.